So at this point, we've put in our squash and zucchini that we sauteed in our wok. We've covered it with the ricotta cheese and then put the pepper, garlic, mushroom mix on top of the ricotta cheese. So at this point, it's meatless minus the ricotta cheese. And then, of course, you have your sauce here, which we added half of the mushroom and pepper mix to. And you're letting it simmer nice and good to get all the juices. We have our regular meat sitting back here. Yep, looks like there's a pepper in there. We better move that out. So we have the regular meat because some of our family does not like the tomato sauce, so they just eat the pasta with the regular meat. But the sauce is simmering nice and good. And in just a minute, we can add it to the ricotta. Okay, so at this point, you're going to take the sauce and place some scoops of it on top of the ricotta bake. You're going to want to take about half of the sauce because you still need to leave room in the pan for the cheese. And then you're going to want to have extra sauce for the pasta for the people who don't like the veggie version. So you're just going to take the pasta sauce, stick it back on the oven, put a lid on it so it can simmer. You're going to lower your stove just a little bit so it doesn't simmer too hot. You still have your regular meat back here warming for the people who do not like the tomato sauce. You've already started your oven preheating. And now we're going to go back over here. We're going to take the 6 Italian cheese blend. And we're going to sprinkle that. You want to make sure that when you sprinkle it, you sprinkle. Our oven's just told us that she's ready for it. But you want to you want to make sure that it's a nice even layer of cheese. So rather than just dumping it all at once, you're going to want to layer it on and shake it out in your hand. Nice and good. Make sure that you get all the way to the edges. That way you have even cheese. Okay. Then we're going to grab the garlic powder by Larry's. This is the one that I prefer. You're just going to sprinkle it over top of the Italian cheese. In our house, we really like garlic. So you'll notice that I've added garlic, I've added minced garlic, I've added powdered garlic. Now we're going to take the shredded Parmesan cheese and we're going to sprinkle that on top. The Parmesan cheese adds for an extra taste element, gives it a little bit of a spicier blend. For me, the 6 Italian cheese is good because you have some Parmesan already in there, but adding the extra Parmesan not only gives you extra protein, but gives you extra flavor. So now you're going to take your dish. Be careful because it is warm on the bottom from the hot zucchini and yellow squash. in the oven. You're going to set your timer at 23 minutes. Usually 25 minutes does it, but for me, I do 23 minutes so I can check it and just make sure that it's not overcooked. Again, we still have our meat here, warm, and we have our sauce simmering. Now we're going to get a pot and fill it with water and start that boiling. Here, why are you looking at me? We're going to get a pot, fill it with water, and start getting that together. And then we're going to make some bow ties for the people who do not like the vegetable part. Pause it. So now, we're going to set the water to boil. What I like to do is add some extra light olive oil. That way your pasta doesn't stick together. And of course, a little bit of salt. This is the only part where I actually add salt. So the only salt flavor that you're going to get is from that. Now we're going to line our cookie sheet with aluminum foil and take our bread. The bread that we prefer is the authentic Puerto Rican bread. This bread is the best bread you could imagine. And it's only 99 cents, which is ridiculous. So we're going to use a knife, a bread knife, and cut the loaf. Now this loaf is really soft. It's really, really fresh. It was actually in the warmer. You want to make sure that you cut it good because it will just tear. So you're going to press it down. Then you're going to take your butter. Rather than grabbing the whole stick, I just grab a little at a time. That way it's not completely submerging the bread, and you get to use less butter. Use less butter, which makes it a little bit healthier. It's so soft that it's just flaking. Now I use real butter. Real butter is actually healthier for you than margarine, butter alternatives. So, I mean, if you're gonna eat, you might as well enjoy it. So we have another loaf of bread on the way because we have a big family. So I had to pull out another stick of butter to let that sit so it'll be able to be spread. In the meantime, I'll finish buttering the rest of this loaf. Are you laughing at me?
Not.
Okay, so the whole loaf is buttered. Now we're going to take the garlic powder again and just sprinkle it all over. Again, our family loves garlic, so garlic bread, lots of garlic. Also, for this specific loaf, I'm going to add Parmesan cheese, just a little bit. Again, Parmesan cheese helps kick up the fat content as well as the protein content, but if you're on a high protein, high fat, you're not supposed to eat bread anyway, so what does it matter, right? Okay, so there's 11 minutes, a little over 11 minutes on the timer, and it takes 12 to 14 to cook the pasta. So this is just perfect timing, and the water's boiling. So we're going to take the box of bow ties, dump them in, give it a good stir using a slotted pasta turner. We're going to take it from high and lower it because we don't want our water over boiling onto the stove. Just to remind you, oh shit, our sauce is still simmering. This gives your sauce the best flavor possible. What this is a mix of ground pork and ground eye round. And that is the start of the dish before we add the tomatoes, the mushrooms, the peppers, the garlic, and all that good stuff. So there's right at 8 minutes on the clock. We're going to go in and stir the pasta to make sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom. Sticky pasta is no good, which is why we add olive oil to the water. And a little sneak peek at the sauce again. I think I'm going to stir it up just one more time. You guys, I wish this was smell-o-vision. This smells absolutely delicious. I'm really, really excited for my family to eat this meal. So with 33, 32, 31 seconds on the clock, in just a second, we will check our bake again. Now remember, the pasta itself has another 2 to 4 minutes because of the time allotted with this. So with just 10 seconds on the clock, I'm going to pull it out and give it a look. And I think it could use another 4 or 5 minutes. So putting it back in the oven, we're going to stop this. We're going to restart it. Whoops. We're going to restart it and just add 2 minutes because of our pasta. Once that's done, we'll add another 3 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to stir this pasta one more time, ensuring that we get all the pasta off the bottom of the pot. I'm also going to take the lid off the sauce and give it another stir. And again, you guys, this smells so delicious. It's actually ridiculous. And we have this meat heating as well. Like I said, I have one daughter who doesn't like tomatoes at all, and I still like for her to get her protein. So what I do for her is I make a separate pan of meat and allow her to add meat and cheese to her own plate without adding the sauce. This makes her feel extra special too, because, well, it's just for her. Oh, the timer's going. It's time to strain the pasta. And since my daughter went outside to ride her four-wheeler, I'm going to turn the camera off while I strain the pasta so I don't burn myself. Oh, and before I do that, I'm going to set the timer again for another 3 minutes for the ricotta bake. So now we're going to take the pasta and strain it. As you can see, using the slotted turner pasta spoon and stirring it helped the pasta not to stick. Now here's the pasta that we strained. And we're going to stir this pasta nice and good. And it's nice and hot. So I accidentally hit the off on the stove. So I'm restarting it now to heat it up, and I've put it up to 375. Doing this, I'm going to set it for 6 minutes because the pasta bake is not quite done yet. Okay, so while the oven is warming up, we're going to turn on the lower oven. We're going to turn on the broil to 425. And again, pasta bake has about 5 minutes. So at this point, I'm going to take the garlic bread and place it in the lower oven. The broil is on. And we're going to check it. Right now, I think 4 minutes will be a good time for it. But just to make sure we don't burn it, we're going to check it again. It only took a few seconds to get to 375, maybe a minute at the max, and it's back up and cooking. So there's 3.5 minutes on the clock. Again, the meat's warming, and we're keeping the sauce hot. At this point, I'm actually going to turn the sauce completely off because it doesn't really need to get any hotter from here. We're going to want to eat it and not burn our mouths. So while we have 3 minutes on the clock, we've already put the pasta on the table, and the bread is going as well. So everything in a perfect world will be done at the same time. Okay, with less than a minute on the clock, I am going to turn the upper oven off at this point. And we're going to check on this garlic bread. Ooh, it is just getting perfect. We better grab that. Apologize for my finger. Like I said, my daughter went out to ride the four-wheeler, and the bread doesn't need to burn. So, we will pull the bread out. Turn that timer off. We're going to leave the oven on because another loaf of bread, as you remember, is on the way for the oven. Okay, so now it's time to pull the ricotta bake out. Oh my God. Look at that. We're going to take it over and just move the salt and pepper right out of the way and put it on a trivet. One of my cheapest tools in my kitchen and favorite is my Betty Crocker kitchen shears. I actually use these and take them to cut the bread up so I don't squash it with a knife. Whoa. And my daughter's out there riding a four-wheeler. I don't know if you can hear it, so I'm trying my best to show you guys just how I cut this bread up. See how easy it is? So now that the bread is all cut up into pieces, we're going to go and get our pasta sauce. We're going to give it one more final stir. And then we're going to bring it over to the table. So as you can see, we have our pasta, the ricotta bake, the sauce, and the bread, all ready to go. One last thing I gotta add is my plain meat for my one daughter. She usually sits here, so I put the meat right in front of her. And again, this is the final dinner. We have the bow tie pasta with the pasta bake, the meat sauce, and the garlic bread. Once we cut into the pasta bake, into the ricotta bake, I used to make it with pasta, but now I make it with just ricotta, summer squash, including zucchini and yellow squash, and then all the stuff that I used to make my old pasta bake with. Having a family of 7 means lots of mouths to feed, but it also means lots of love around the table every night for dinner. So, you know, it has its benefits. With the timer going off, it's time to pull this bread. Ooh, look how good it looks. Let's turn off the timer and turn off the stove. Look at that bread. 4 kids, a best friend, and a husband who all can share a wonderful, delicious meal with you is so much of a blessing. You can't even imagine. Thing before I call my family in that I want to share with you guys is that at this table, there's never any shortage of anything. God always seems to provide for our family. And of course, have to have the shaker cheese. And there's always plenty of food for anybody to come and enjoy dinner with us. God's blessings are really abundant, and if you trust in Him, He will always make a way. Okay, so here we go, cutting another ricotta bake. There's all your veggies. And this is my reward, my meal.
I definitely approve.
And you guys, this, along with my plate of food, is also my reward.
Thank you,
Mama. Thank you, Mama.
Thank you.
And most of all, thank God.
Outdining me some food.
And this is after the family has hit dinner. There's still so much left. Wow, that's crazy. Spread kindness, like letter, and be nice to people. See you guys next time.